There's always more you can get. Hey guys, I'm going to do another episode of the Gangland Chronicles. This one is about Chapo. I know some things about Chapo, guys who ratted on him, the Flores brothers. So I'm going to listen to this. So let's listen to it together.
By 1989, El Chapo runs the Sinaloa cartel alongside two other former Guadalajara lieutenants, El Mayo Zambada and Hector Salazar. Beneath them, a well-oiled machine takes the cartel's reach around the world.
They had a security department, they had a communications department, and they had hundreds of sicarios who, when needed, would go do the dirty work. I don't like giving him credit, but Chapo was one hell of a CEO.
The Sinaloa cartel is massive. Not everyone reports directly to Chapo. If there's a conflict that is serious enough where it rises to the top, Chapo will make a decision. Who's right? Who's wrong? Who needs to live? Who needs to die?
During El Chapo's reign, Sinaloa will become the richest drug cartel in Mexico, earning over $12 billion from trafficking drugs to the United States. But in the beginning, the cartel has challenges reaching its #1 market.
I wasn't in business, in the drug business, so I might have heard of him. I think it's done well. I really do. I think it's done very well. I'd have to go deeper into it. See, like now, when he's dealing, he has a problem of getting the stuff into the United States. Who broke that problem for him were the Flores brothers, the twins. They connected all over the United States, but mostly in Chicago. You know, they have ways of getting men and women, sneaking them over the border to come in, and they set them up in different states. And when they do that, they're owed the cartel to do certain things. Some women, they'll make them become hookers. Some of the men and women, they'll make them become drug dealers. Whatever they want them to do, they make them do it. Now, they grab mostly people that they smuggled over the border. Their families are still in Mexico, and they constantly remind them that we know your family, we know where they live, we know who they are. If you don't listen to us, don't worry about us coming and killing you. We're going to kill your family, your mothers, your fathers, your sisters, your brothers, your cousins, your uncles, your aunts. This will make men and women so paranoid and so fucked up that they'll do whatever they're asked to do. I don't care what it is. They'll do it. This is, I mean, when they're saying how shrewd they are and things they did, and you don't want to compliment them, yes, they're very shrewd. And the only similarity I see to the mafia is that he was smart enough that he started doing people who were below him, like he's saying, you couldn't just get to him. It's almost like a boss of a mafia family. Associates, there's soldiers, there's captains, then there's the administration. You're not going up to the boss. So I think they took part of our strategies, and like he's saying now, you know, I'm not familiar with computers and stuff like that, but they had people doing all that stuff too, technology. I remember being in prison with the Flores brothers, the twins. At one time I was with both of them in the same prison. I think they told me they had 100 phones with different telephone numbers and different everything. So they could talk to people in different parts of the country on a certain phone. There was a code, there was a page, and by that page there was the names who's on that phone. So they could get that phone, pick it up, they know you're talking to whoever it is. And they couldn't have these people communicating with one another. They always had to communicate through the Flores brothers. Here we go forward.
1989, Mexico. El Chapo dispatches a lawyer to buy a home in Agua Prieta, a few hundred yards from the U.S. border. Then he buys a warehouse in Douglas, Arizona. After hours of searching, they discover the tunnel entrance, cleverly concealed in the most unlikely place.
On the Mexican side, it was covered by a pool table. If you found a hidden switch, it would rise up and reveal the entrance. It was really something.
Inside the tunnel, authorities seize 2,000 pounds of cocaine, worth over $46 million. 1989, Tijuana, Mexico. Sinaloa's brazen disregard of Tijuana's rules upsets a fragile peace between the two cartels. The Tijuana cartel kills 2 Sinaloa associates. Then they behead the wife of El Chapo's business partner, Hector Palma Salazar, and send her ahead to her family in a box.
You know, we'd have some dangerous guys, Roy DeMeo and people like that in the mafia as well. He's using violence in such an extreme way that these people are terrified. One, to take over their business, to have no comeback from them, and even the innocent men, women who are Mexicans and are not in that life or lifestyle are so terrified of them, they're afraid to cooperate. They're afraid to do anything. That's what violence does. That's what he sees, and that's what he's doing. He's sending out messages with his violence of, I can kill you anytime I want, any day of the week, any one of your family members. You go against me and my organization, this is what you'll get. And he sends them heads and doing stupid, ridiculous, dangerous things like that to scare the shit out of them. Now, I just said stupid. It's really not all that stupid. It's understandable. Fear. He's using fear. And it's used in a lot of different groups, a lot of ways. The mafia uses it. Roy DeMeo has used it. It's not every person's cup of tea in the mafia or even in Mexico, but the cartels, they followed suit with him. This was the way to go. He was the person who was like, he made himself the boss of all bosses. If you don't do that, and you don't live that lifestyle, you don't show that, you'll be nothing. They all wanted to be him, make his kind of money, everything. But it shows you the stupidity and the greed. And even in politics, no matter where you go, greed takes down people. There's no end. I mean, this guy was a multi-billionaire. What in the does he want? He's got what they call you money. He could do anything he wants, live anywhere he wants, buy anything he wants. And he's just got hooked, like Roy DeMeo did, on extreme violence. And he did it more and more. As other cartels saw him, they saw it working for him, and they started doing the same thing. It all starts with a money grab, and you want money. You're addicted. There's never enough money. I don't care if it's 1,000, 50,000, 1 million, 2 million, 10 million, 1 billion. They're addicted. It's never enough. When you're in that brainwave, you're stuck. And it happens with other organizations, not only the Mexican cartels, I don't want to just call it on them, a lot of cartels all over the world, including some people in the mafia. We were against it, so people who did that in the mafia, we got rid of them right away. We didn't want nothing to do with that. Super greedy, super selfish guys, and who would use violence in that capacity. So I don't think end result, well, the story tells it, it wasn't a very smart move. He gets captured later, just out of greed again. He had so much money. What he does at the end, I don't know if they're going to get to it. We didn't get to it yet, so I won't talk about it. We'll wait till we get to it. But yeah, they're addicted to it, without a doubt. And he's got to understand, or anybody has to understand, that when you do that, you're bringing law enforcement and governments from different countries, from every place. It never ends good.
All these other ways they would torture and kill people was really about sending a message.
And he's agreeing with what I just said.
The Sinaloa cartel learns that the Arellano Felix brothers are celebrating a birthday at a discotheque in Puerto Vallarta. El Chapo sends his men to the club, armed.
Outside, El Chapo and his men pull up. They're dressed as cops.
The hitmen of the Sinaloa cartel have one mission: kill the heads of the Tijuana cartel and anyone who gets in their way. 1992.
Several people were shot, but the brothers made it out of there alive. And they were not happy, to say the least.
1993. The Arellano Felix brothers punch back after learning El Chapo is flying out from the Guadalajara airport. El Chapo bolts through the baggage terminal. On a nearby road, he hijacks a car and escapes. 1993. El Chapo is captured by the Guatemalan army and extradited back to Mexico. He is convicted of drug trafficking and bribery and sentenced to 20 years in a maximum security prison. In 2000, the Mexican Supreme Court hands down a decision to allow extradition of drug traffickers from Mexico to the United States. After 7 years behind bars in a Mexican prison, El Chapo masterminds his escape by hiding in a laundry cart.
I thought I was on the 11th floor in MCC in lockdown. I was going to go out through the window, and I was going to have people on the bottom. When I got the window open, the window isn't easy to open. It's not glass. It's not something you can break. It's part glass and part plastic. And you need to heat it. You can't even cut it without heating it.